Hi, this is David. We're continuing our tour through the tutorial on Angular.io as we learn how to use Angular. Angular is a framework for building a single page application, and in the past we've taken that very literally. We actually have everything here on the same page, a list of superheroes and some messages and the details about that. But it might make sense to have things broken up into different views and have those views navigated to based on the URL. And that idea of navigating to different things based on a URL is known as routing. You may be familiar with routing if you use frameworks like ASP.NET MVC or Ruby on Rails. And this is similar to that, except that the difference with Angular is that in those frameworks, the routing takes place on the server, and in Angular, the routing takes place on the client. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build different views. One will be a dashboard, which is a list of just the top few heroes. We'll have a full list of all the heroes, and then we'll have a detail about whatever the selected hero is. We're going to build that, and we'll be able to route to any one of those views based on the URL. So to do that, we're going to use this CLI command. So if I go down to here and run that, that's going to generate a module called app routing. In fact, if I go into my code here, you'll notice that there is a now an app routing module right here. We haven't defined any routes in there, but also we'll notice that there were changes made to the app module TS. So right here we've importing the app routing module, and we get that from up here from the app routing .module inside of our framework. Okay, let's return to this. We'll take a look at, this is the app routing module. Now in our routing module, we have a couple things we don't need. We don't need to declare any of these components here, but we want to export the routing module. So we're going to replace this part here with the exports. So let's just paste that in and save it, and now we're exporting the routing module. Now we want to add some routes to this. So there'll be a route that points to the heroes components. That's the list of heroes that we have. And so in our routing module, we're going to add that code to the top. We'll add a route, and a route consists of a path, heroes, that's a part of the URL, so something/heroes, and the component to load when we get to that path. In this case, the heroes component, which we can see right there. This thing right here we want to load. So now we have a route, and in order for Angular to understand and start using that route, we need to initialize the router, and we're going to do that by importing the routes for the root of this application. So let's do that here in our module. In addition to the exports, we'll add this imports right here, and we'll pass in these routes. We also need a place for these components, these modules, to be displayed on our page, and we'll do that with a router outlet tag here, which is a special Angular tag which tells Angular where to put the views as the route changes. So we'll do that in our app component, which is really the main view of our application. In our app component, right there, let's get rid of the app heroes, and instead we'll put this router outlet right there. Okay. And then the route will take care of loading either the heroes component or whatever component is necessary or appropriate for that route. Now you'll notice that when I go to my application, I've removed the heroes component here. There's just this router, this app router tag that doesn't have anything into it. But if I navigate to /heroes, then the heroes component displays. Next, let's add another view. In this case, it'll be a dashboard view. So we can add, that's just a component. We'll use the command line to generate all the files that our component requires. ng generate component dashboard, so it'll generate those 4 files for us. And here it is right here, dashboard. And just some boilerplate TypeScript and HTML in here. And what we want to do is we want to replace these files with something that's appropriate for a dashboard. So in this case, let's start with a TS file. Right here, we're going to select app dashboard and then show this HTML template, which is right here. And this has an ng4. It's going to loop through this list of heroes. And for each hero, it will display hero.name. These classes apply to it. Let's see, there's just some style sheets around it, so we added those styles here in this style sheet. So let's copy and paste all this stuff in here. Here's our HTML template, dashboard HTML. Grab that. Here is the component TS. Let's grab this right here, and you can see that it's grabbing using the hero service, and from that it's going to populate this heroes property with an array of heroes using get heroes, something we did earlier in an earlier video. So here's our TS. And then finally, our style sheet is right here. And that's created, but it's empty, so we'll save that. And that all looks pretty good. And you'll notice that in the get heroes of this one, let's see the component right here. This is similar to the get heroes in the heroes component, but you'll notice that we also have this heroes.slice 1, 5, and that tells it to return the first 5 heroes in the list. Now that we have a dashboard module, let's add that as a route. So what we can do is in our app routing module, we're going to tell it about this dashboard module by importing it at the top here. And then we'll add to our routes list, we'll add the path and the component to load here in the routes list. So right now, we had 1 route, now we have 2 routes in our route array. We also want to have a default route, and in fact, let's make the dashboard our default route. So we'll add this here so that if the path is empty, then we'll redirect to the dashboard path and match that as full. So we'll do that. So that means that if we just go to, in this case, localhost followed by the port number with nothing afterwards, it'll default to the dashboard. Let's also add some links on our main page to both the dashboard and the heroes. We've already added the heroes route, but we want to add the dashboard as well. So we'll do that in our app component HTML, which is right here. Add 1 more router link to the dashboard. And now let's go on back to this, and we want to go to the default route here. So there's nothing up here in the route, and it redirected to dashboard. And now we have a couple of links up here. One for heroes, takes us to the full list of heroes. One for dashboard that takes us to this as well. And if we were to just go back to removing that like that, then it directs to the dashboard route. And finally, we want to add a route for the hero detail. We've already created that component here, but we just want to add it to our route. So the hero detail component is down here. We want to make it its own route. This does present one challenge here because we definitely want to parameterize it so we know which hero we're looking at. We're looking at hero number 16 or hero number 14 or whatever. And so we'll have to figure out a way to pass that parameter into the route. And there is a way of doing that. So let's start by importing this component into our app routing module right there, so it knows about the hero details, and then we can add that route down here to our array of routes like this. And notice, look at this route. It's /detail/:ID. The colon tells it that this is a parameter. So that's not just the word this is the word detail, but it's not the word ID. It's a value that represents the ID and is interpreted as such. Now that we have a route that establishes how to get to the detail, we'll want to have a way of easily getting that from both the dashboard and from the heroes list. And that's what we're going to do for the dashboard components HTML template. Then we'll add a router link for each one of these anchor tags that we're looping through in the ng4. So let's grab that in our dashboard component.html. We want the anchor tag here. Replace that with this right here. That got kind of messed up, so let me format that correctly. And there we go. Now we have an anchor tag that points to the router link details / whatever the current hero.id is. And we'll do something similar now in the heroes component. Here, instead of, remember before we were using the click event and binding that to a method on select, now we'll do something more declarative. We'll just add an anchor tag in here and set that equal to this router link /details / whatever that hero's ID is. So in our heroes component HTML template, which I don't see down here. I'll have to just navigate to it on here. Heroes component HTML right there, and this is for the UL. So I'll replace that entire unordered list with this right here. We got rid of the on select, replaced it with this router link right here. Okay, now we're expecting the heroes detail component to work a little bit differently, so we have to modify the code in there. So in here, this thing's gonna have to know about routes. So in the hero detail component right there, let's make sure we import activated route and location. Those are both important. We'll have those available to us. And then in our constructor, we're going to inject activated route, hero service, and location. And then now we're going to have to add some code, a get hero code in here to figure out to grab that ID from the route. which is using this syntax right here, this.write.snapshot.parametr.get ID. That just simply grabs that ID parameter from the end of the route. And then we will call the hero service will have a get hero that pass in a parameter. We haven't written that yet. We'll have to write that. And this is the syntax because it's an observable. We'll subscribe to it. The data that comes back, we'll call that hero, and then we'll set this dot hero equal to hero. So then this whole thing will get called in this whole method here simply gets called in the on init right there. So let's go ahead and do that like so. All right, and the squiggly line here says, oh, well, hero service doesn't yet have a get hero method. Let's add that. And that's right here. If we take a look at this, it takes a parameter called ID. It's going to be a number. And in this say, we'll add, of course, add a message saying fetched hero ID equals and whatever ID it was. And then we'll return heroes.find. So in this case, we still have our hard-coded list of heroes. And we'll just call the find method where the hero.id equals whatever ID was passed in. So let's grab this and copy it into our service, which is down there. And there's a second method right here. Okay, let's see if that works. We added a lot of changes here. So if I go back to the root, it takes me to the dashboard. If I click on one of these, like Bambasto, then I get the details and everything still works. Bambasto is now changed, and that'll persist even if I go over back to the dashboard. It's Bambasto because it's bound to that same model down here, Bambasto and so on. And if I click on it from here, then that is not working. So I'll need to fix that. Let's go back to here and just do a save all because it's possible I didn't save something. Start with the simplest thing here. And now I'll click on one of these things, and now it does work. So it just had some of the unsaved changes that it hadn't done here. And again, Narco changes the model because it's two-way data binding. It works here, and that persists throughout all of my different views right here, clicking back and forth. And the one thing that I would like to do is I want to add a back button. Let's go ahead and grab this code right here. In our hero detail component, once you get to the hero detail, we want to go back so that if we navigate from the dashboard, we'll go back to the dashboard. If we navigate to it from the list of heroes, then we'll go back to that list of heroes. So in our hero details component, which is here in the HTML template, we're going to add a back button. I think it's right underneath the title. Is that right? No, let's see. It doesn't really say where to put it. Let's just put it down at the bottom, right there. How about that? And then of course we want to create this method, and that'll be in our component, our TS. So in the TS right here, we'll add a method called goBack. This just uses the browser's location property. Say this.location goBack means look in the browser, and essentially it's just like hitting the back button. Save all right there. And now when I go into the details, actually I have this back button here. So if I navigate from magenta to the details and hit go back, I go back to the dashboard. If I'm on a list of heroes and I navigate to a detail of one of them, now when I hit go back, it goes to the details. It knows where it came from. All these crazy messages I get rid of. And here we've got a list of all these files we changed. There was quite a few in this case. So if you made a mistake, don't worry about it. You've got the solution right here. In this module, we saw how to implement routing using the Angular framework. This is David. Thank you for watching.